Market observations for Ipswich in Queensland. Now in this short video, I'm going to be starting at a high level, looking at Ipswich comparing to other places across Australia. From a property investment perspective, then I'm going to be going into individual suburbs and looking at if those suburbs are currently in our buying window. Should we buy investment properties there right now, as of today? I'm going to be doing some unique analysis, so stick around for that towards the end, where I'm going to be looking at individual streets and where new housing supply is coming into the Ipswich area, and where there's some things that we really need to understand to stay away from. We need to avoid certain streets like the plague in Ipswich. So definitely we need to get that broad picture, starting up high, coming in to the street level. So without further ado, let's look into Ipswich. As always, property investment is a science. Okay, it's not talking to Auntie Judy at the barbecue after I've had a couple of beers on the weekend and going, I'm going to go and buy an Ipswich. It's not talking to other people on Facebook and getting opinion from randoms and people just chiming in with different research and different locations. We need to take a scientific approach to this. Okay, we need to think about this from a data and a research perspective, and then put our common sense checks over the top. Firstly, I like to see the overall opportunity. This is a longer term perspective. How does Ipswich compare to other places across Australia? So I will be going into another map in a moment, but for those of you that don't know, Ipswich is very well serviced. We have hospitals and health right in the middle of Ipswich. This is Brisbane. Okay, so this is for non-Queenslanders. Brisbane is up here. You have a train line coming into Ipswich, and you have lots of public amenities. There's actually quite an established population area. You know, it's not a small regional. It is a larger satellite area attached to a large capital city. So we do have universities, education, train stations. Once again, this train line into the Brisbane area. You know, this train line here is 25 kilometres to the Brisbane CBD. Okay, really nice, easy commute into Brisbane. That's the same as Moreton Bay in the north and even Logan down in the south. So it gives you some context of the different areas on the north, west and south of Brisbane. And that shows you we can compare Ipswich to those. We can find areas where prices may be depressed, where yields might be very strong, and these areas might be set to perform and outperform those comparable Mortons and Logans of the world. So that's the sort of analysis we need to do of Ipswich. It is very well serviced by these key amenities. Now we do have some wonderful new projects coming through the pipeline. You know, we have $4.4 million on new passenger trains. Okay, I don't usually like including this type of spend, this investment spend, because it's not just impacting the Ipswich area, but it is classified as a capital works project that is related to Ipswich. So some of these dollar values here do need to be treated with a grain of salt. Some of the key ones for me: hospital expansion, $146 million. This is stuff that really leads to the jobs, increased utility, the types of employment that we like in the area. CBD upgrades, $250 million is a big chunk of change for somewhere the size of Ipswich. And this type of stuff really does gentrify an area. It changes people's perception of that local area, therefore their willingness to pay. Therefore, they will live there longer. Their tenure time, the way that they perceive their local area changes. They take more pride in the area. We've just had an interview, check it out on the YouTube channel, with Jacob. His name is Jacob, as a councillor from Logan. And he talks about the power of the locals in these areas, these mid to low socio areas, taking pride in their location. So you don't have burnouts on the street anymore. You have people putting front fences, flower gardens, facades, all this overhaul that happens. Ipswich knows the importance of this. $250 million upgrades on retail spaces, dining precincts, water features, libraries, civic plazas. This is all the perception stuff. It increases utility, but then it changes how people react, the context that they see Ipswich in. And this has a trickle-on effect to demand and people's willingness to pay more to live in Ipswich. So it's not just a factor of population being attracted to the area, it's people in Ipswich spending more to upgrade, to build, to further gentrify their own properties and their communities, and not shipping into Brisbane CBD or into higher socio areas around it. This is how these areas really do gentrify through a generation. You also see other large infrastructure, public spend, distribution centres, so commercial, corporate backing the Ipswich area. I love this new project spend for the Ipswich area. Very bullish on what we're seeing there. Employment diversity is excellent, and health and social services is our #1 ticket. I like to see that. I like to see it when state governments focus health and social services and employment in the area. It means that they are wanting to bring population from the surrounding areas into Ipswich. And they're doing that potentially to make it that key satellite area for Brisbane. And this might be the expense of them spending money in the southwest pockets of Brisbane in healthcare. They are bringing this focus towards the Ipswich area, and we're very stable in terms of employment in health and social services right now. Education and training is also another great one that I like to see. But really, this whole mix here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different employment types at or over 5% shows a very diverse concentration. That gives us less volatility in the local market. One job market might be going backwards whilst the other is going forwards, and they cancel each other out. So it gives us that stability. We don't have all of our eggs in one basket. Population growth, always a very strong population growth centre. 3% per annum going into COVID. It hasn't really changed much afterwards. As far as population growth happens in the country, Ipswich is always really leading the charge, and we set and expect this to continue. What does that mean for capital growth? Well, we've just released, in the process of releasing, a over 30-page white paper on this very topic. So subscribe to this channel and be the first to be informed of a video that has been released in the next week or so that has never before seen research on population growth. It is absolutely critical in helping us to predict future capital growth. It is myth busting all of the false news that is out there already around population growth and data and capital growth and how they relate to each other. It's going to blow your mind. You need to subscribe to the channel, and we'll make sure that you're the first to know about it, because there is definitely a first mover advantage to that research. Population growth here, very strong. That is a very strong signal. Unemployment, it is higher. I'm going to waive this data now because it doesn't factor in the last year or so, and we would expect Ipswich over that time to have pulled back. Okay, so this data needs to be updated on our chart here, and I have checked this coming into here. The unemployment has come into a reasonable place for Ipswich. We are very comfortable with the employment diversity and current employment landscape in Ipswich. It has met our due diligence through that process. Okay, so we do need to take this data heading into and around COVID with a grain of salt when unemployment did rise across the board. Now, overall, the opportunity in Ipswich is a very compelling use case, and I really like Ipswich because over the last decade it has continued to punch above its weight. Right? We would define this council as entrepreneurial. They are always able to attract investment, right? Attract population and attract new projects and employment. And they do this at a rate that far exceeds their population. They are very ambitious, very entrepreneurial, and they are sucking themselves up from a lower socio area to a key satellite mid-socio area attached to Brisbane, and a legitimate area for families to go and to move because of the lifestyle factors that it does enjoy. So expect, as Brisbane continues to grow, a lot of renewed emphasis onto these key satellites that really do offer people what they want to have around them when they live. Is it the right time to buy in Ipswich? Long-term, great. Short-term, let's have a look. Are we seeing ourselves a buying window that we can move into? Days on market, increasing, still very low, but it is increasing. So we may be having a little bit of steam dissipate out of the market. Overall, days of supply is decreasing, but for houses in December month, it has increased slightly. That is another sign that we may have the steam leaving this market. Okay, these are both working against us so far. Stock inventory is stable, so days of supply is not a factor of more stock coming onto the market and new housing construction, which is a theme in Ipswich. It is a factor of less properties being sold and turning over. All right, so that's once again a signal of demand side or slowing down on the demand side and not an oversupply. So that's once again probably the out of the two options, what increases I'll just clarify that. Out of the two ways that we can really have days of supply increasing, it's either lots of supply coming into the market and flooding it, or demand slowing down. And I don't really know which one I would prefer, but in this case, with not much supply, a quite stable new construction in the area, less demand means it might take a little bit longer for this market to get going again, right? Supply can be cleared quickly if you have a lot of demand, a lot of turnover. But when that turnover and demand starts slowing, it might take a little while to clear that stock, which hasn't slowed down. It's only, we still have reasonable stock levels in the market. Level of immediate sales is still good. For the good quality assets in the good quality suburbs, we still have a lot of competition, and that's a really important thing that I need to mention, because Ipswich is a very diverse area. Over the last 12 months, we've seen very strong increases in asking prices. We've had some amazing acquisitions for clients in Ipswich. We have excellent off-market networks, excellent on the ground due diligence. We know exact streets that we target for very good capital growth. And over the last few years, we've generated extremely strong capital growth. I know with some clients going back a couple of years, only a couple of years in places like Eastern Heights, we've had 60 to 70% capital growth, extremely strong results. But we have to be aware that the asking price has gone up in the last 12 months, 10 or 12%. Vendor discounting has dropped. So this is a signal that a lot of heat has come out of the market in the last few months, and sold prices have stabilised. So we definitely have hit a short-term top of the market. We might not have a buying window that's left open in this area. Is this confirmed in the rental side of the equation? Okay. In these mid to socio areas, we have a very strong buy to rent, rent to buy momentum. The market shifts back and forth. Okay, rents go through the roof, it's cheaper to buy, people go and buy, they push the buy price up, and then it's too expensive for new entrants, so they flip over to the rent side, it's cheaper, and you have this flip-flopping. This is what we're seeing. So in this type of scenario, when we've seen a short-term top in the cycle, we need to look at the rental side of the market to determine how long that top's going to be. Okay, is it going to be a 3-year consolidation or a 3-month blip in the radar? Because here we've seen a little bit of heat dissipate from the rental market. Days on rental market has increased over the last 3 months. Vacancy rates have increased, now from low levels up to just a bit over average. Okay, so we are seeing the heat leave the rental side of the market too. Rental yields are still very strong. Overall, I'm still not seeing the bullish signs from the rental market. Okay, so for me, this might be maybe a longer term consolidation period. But, and this is a really big but, all the data that you've looked at today is all local area level data, local government area level data. Ipswich is a very diverse local council. You've got many dozens of suburbs all pushing and pulling. The data here, for us to sum up, is given at a local government area level, all right? So you have some suburbs that are in a very slow down consolidation phase. You have other suburbs that are absolutely booming, and they're all pushing and pulling and averaging each other out and giving us this information. This information is very useful for this type of video format, very useful for us to get a high-level overview of Ipswich. High-level overview of Ipswich is great long-term, great opportunity, but we have missed our boat in this cycle. But what we know on the ground are there still are multiple suburbs that are firing on all cylinders. There are multiple suburbs that are just emerging from a consolidation period and set from our analysis to perform really strongly for the next few years, short to mid-term. So there definitely are great overall potential in Ipswich. If you had to buy stocks in Ipswich, maybe you've missed your boat, but we can get very fussy with the individual suburbs and streets. Now, how do we do that? I'm not going to give you all the answers. You've got to do some critical thinking for yourself, all right? But ask yourself some questions. Get to know the lay of the land of these local government areas, all right? CBD of Ipswich here. You can see the darker the pink, the larger the supply. So we have some suburbs here with 1/3 of new homes being constructed right now. What's that going to do for capital growth? Not increasing sales prices, sales median prices, actual capital growth. Not much when you have 1 in every 3 houses being constructed right now. You have other suburbs here where you have, less than 1 in 100 new homes, 1 in 300 new homes being constructed. So 300 established, 1 new home. Okay, so you have extremely tightly held enclaves or suburbs within the Ipswich area. You have multiple drivers of utility. Okay, so obviously all around you have a lot of employment in rural, etc., commutes, but you have the train, you have the river, you have then real gotchas, fire overlays, flood overlays, mining overlays. The house might look great on paper, you walk up to it and it's beautiful. Underneath you've got abandoned mines, unstable ground, you're not able to develop, right? There's a lot of gotchas. And then you have a lot of flood impacting coming along lowland areas with the river, and it has been impacted in recent times. All right, so think of it in terms of really, really high level. You've got no-go areas. These people are travelling to the yellow areas of utility, to the train, to the CBD, to the employment in the local area. So all these people are travelling up here every day. They're driving past all of these established areas, these tightly held mid to higher social areas, and they're going, wow, I don't want to wait 20 minutes to get to work. I only want to take 5 minutes. Okay, grass is always greener. They're driving past all these new homes and everyone's been aspirational. All these people are working in the CBD and that's trickling back outwards. More money being spent, businesses going better. These people trickling back outwards, and suddenly all these surrounding areas are benefiting from this new construction. So we see a real opportunity, not just here, but here and here as well, in these established areas within Ipswich, and getting this right, because some of these areas are really gearing themselves up well. Some of them are definitely in a consolidation phase. Hopefully that's useful for you guys. Ipswich, high level, local government area, great long term. Short term, probably missed the boat, but when we get down into the nitty gritty at a suburb and a street level, plenty of opportunity there when you know how to pick through it. If you like this content, please subscribe. We'd love to see you in our next video. Being the first to know about the private research that we released, share the love. Drop some links into other forums or other places that mention Ipswich. Show people the light and help them to understand this research. Thank you.